Hello and welcome to another Conversations at the Summit, the no-nonsense podcast brought to you by ClimbUK. I'm Tanya, Arnold, and on this episode, we're going to look at social impact, why it matters and why it's at the heart of Climb.
I class myself as like a natural born servant. I literally love just looking after people. You've got to celebrate things. We all know there's negatives and there's struggles and there's, things that we need to overcome, but you've got to focus on the positives and come up with new ideas and, really celebrate what people are doing. Climb is all about, for me, I know it's about lots of things, but it's about value in every conversation. So I met people last year doing the randomest things and I'm still in touch with them and we've become great friends and we've done things together. Just come and see what's happening in your local community. I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised and there might be just a really fun way that you can get involved, in a way that you didn't think you could.
Well, with us is Climb's first ever head of impact, Paula Chamberlain, and the gaffer, Gordon Bateman. Paula, before we get to Climb and talking about that, I just wanted to explore your background a little bit because it's very much from the care sector, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in the care sector as a carer over 25 years ago, following doing lots of other jobs, and didn't realise you could actually look after people and earn money. So when I first took on that role, I just knew that's where I was meant to be all them years ago. So I class myself as like a natural born servant. I literally love just looking after people. So I did a long career in care, doing lots of different positions and being really inquisitive, got into management very quickly, loved all the standard sides of things, like with CQC and all this kind of thing, wanting to make a difference on the service level of care for people. I got a job setting up a franchise for a local franchise, a home care service. So set all that up for them, loved that. Moved into recruitment in terms of recruiting sort of social workers, allied health professionals. So I did that from a different angle because I understood the industry. Loved that. And the national company that I was working for, I actually set up their first ever domiciliary home care department and assisted to roll that out across the UK. So they did recruitment, but we did home care. So did that really successfully. And when I was having my second child, had to go on maternity early, I decided that was the right time to actually set up my own private healthcare company. So I could ensure all the standards were as they should be and have a little bit more innovation and creativity in terms of how the business was heading. So I had that business for 12 years, private healthcare company.
So you have properly done the lot. I just want to go back to that first bit, that you loved caring for people, because it's something that actually in this country is almost seen as, I don't know, a job that people don't want to do. What was it you loved?
The actual caring for people, and that's a subject I could talk about a long time, and I know we can't do that. But it does take a certain kind of person to become a carer. And I take my hat off to all carers out there because I've worked with, like older people, community services, children, challenging behaviour, mental health. I've done most of the different sections, if you like. And it's not the best paid. You're under a lot of pressure. Home care in particular. I mean, I've worked in residential and day services and all kinds of things. But the only thing that keeps you going, in my opinion, because unfortunately it's not great, isn't the offering, but that's another debate, is your passion for people and making a difference and literally leaving someone's house knowing that they feel safe and they're clean and they're dressed and they've just had all the needs attended to and they've also had a lovely conversation with someone. It's like the best feeling in the world, really.
So how did you meet Gordon? How did you come across Climb?
So, a good friend of ours, a mutual friend and contact of ours, Baloo Fagboran, was involved in Climb last year, and he said, Paul, and he was one of my directors for the CIC, so we go way back, me and Baloo. He said, I'm getting involved with this thing called Climb. And I was like, what's that? So he told me all about it. And he said, and he told me all about Gordon. And he was like, you and Gordon are getting really well. Now I know why. So he said, I really think you should get involved. He's decided to add a social impact zone. And I believe it was quite last minute, that, wasn't it, last year? Great last minute idea.
So as we've seen in previous podcasts, I can just come up with daft ideas, or not daft ideas, but ideas in the spur of a moment that can have an impact. So we were in a meeting with a group of people from the Combined Authority and Leeds City Council talking about my passion, which was around how we have our mission statement as Climb is to be the most impactful business event on the planet. That's where we want to get to. And to do that, we've got to do something different. And I just said, why don't we have an impact zone? Foot in mouth moment of, I've no idea what we're going to do with that, how we're going to execute it. And I have this mind that when we do something, we knock it out the park. So I was like, right, where do we go? And that's how we kind of met, really.
Yeah. So I spoke to a few people and said, how can I get involved? And I offered to help sort of build the social impact zone. So the actual space and the stage was set, if you like. I got really excited about that because having had, so yes, I've been in care and social care for over 25 years, but I've also had a big corporate background and been in the business world a long time. So I knew just how special that opportunity was. Like, I was so excited because I was like, I've always, because I feel like I'm in the middle of sort of corporate, social care and now third sector, I feel like I'm in the middle of these industries and I feel like my purpose is to bring those together. So when I heard about Climb adding a social impact zone, I was like, this is it. This is it. So I got involved. I hosted a stage and invited some really cool people like social entrepreneurs, CICs, different people to come and speak about what they do. Took on like another stage to help out, and then just randomly, like God, and I have these ideas which I like to just have fun and be creative. So I brought my daughter's pink microphone with me, literally that morning, put it in my bag because I like doing fun stuff. So in like lunch break and stuff, I was sort of running around outside with my pink microphone, interviewing people and sort of saying, hi, what's your name? How's your time at Climb? Just having fun because everyone just were like minding their own business, eating the dinner. We even interviewed Gordon. I was like, what's your name? Obviously we know what his name is. And you were just trying to eat your dinner, weren't you? You just grabbed a minute for his dinner.
First bit of food I had in 3 days. And this pink microphone comes flying over my burrito or whatever I was eating. Yeah. But just to be clear, we'd not asked Paula to do anything at this point.
No,
this
nothing.
was just all like her just thinking, this is important.
Yeah.
Getting on board and just jumping on this. Because my worry, and we do support a lot of charities and we support a lot of impact and social impact things at Climb, but often they'll get up and they'll play a video which is quite somber and rightly getting some really serious messages across. Yeah. But it can kill an atmosphere like that. And I was worried with this zone that it'd be just, you imagine the people come to Climb because they want to meet investors, they want to raise money, they want to learn about how to grow their business. And suddenly bang in the middle of every single bit we do, we put social impact on all different levels. And I was like, will they be interested? And Jesus, they were. Not because of, what we did, because of what Paula put together. That was the most
because of the fluffy pink microphone.
And the rest, just like really cool people who were really engaging.
We had loads of fun. Yeah, definitely. And just really celebrate. Because to me, that's my attitude. Anyway, you've got to celebrate things. We all know there's negatives and there's struggles and there's, things that we need to overcome. But you've got to focus on the positives and come up with new ideas and, really celebrate what people are doing to get the best.
A question to both of you, really. What does social impact, what does it mean to you, Paula? What does it mean to you, Gordon? Paula first.
It's anything that can impact on your local community. Just socially, and it's not always just people that are in dire need as well. You've got extremes there because I've through my professional life as a third sector leader, I've dealt with a lot of professionals who also require support that are forgotten about and hidden. There's so many levels for social impact, and I think it's about re-educating people and challenging that that language and stuff. But social impact as well is. Reaching out to really deprived areas and communities and stuff. It is such a wide subject. I think it's a lot wider than what people think.
I think that's true. I think it is much wider. So can be anything from, again, I'm conscious of buzzwords, but social mobility. So getting people who don't know my job exists or think that my job is outside of their ability or their reach, right through to making sure there's more diversity or more inclusion, supporting local communities. And we as business owners and we as businesses within those communities have a responsibility, not just socially, not just from a moral perspective, but actually, if we want to grow successful businesses, we've got to invest in that. Yeah. And I can argue with the hardest nosed finance person on the planet of the positive financial impact to our organisation or to any organisation by actually having this at the heart of what you do. And so like Paula says, it is very broad. And the beauty of that means that no matter what your interest is and no matter what your passion is, you can do something about it. It could be, I was talking to a company yesterday, amazing business. They've plant forests, or they do, it's forestry within prisons, and it makes ex-convicts employable. Guess what? They're probably less likely to do something bad again, and therefore that's better for your community. So you're helping them.
Just so much.
It just cycles around the positive spin, not spin as in like marketing spin, but the positive kind of uplift. The smallest thing can have this butterfly effect that just does some really cool things. So social impact to me is everything that we're doing has a positive impact on somebody on this planet.
Yeah.
So roll forward 12 months, you're now an employee.
Yes.
So how did that come about?
So the short version. So in January of this year, I ended up with a short stay in hospital and had to take the hard decision following a few other things to actually shut down my CIC, which I've had for 4 years. So I had 2 buildings, a beautiful 4-storey grade 2 listed building. I also renovated my own nightclub as well, which we run really successfully. In over 3.5 years, we impacted over 35,000 people. And that's an under-ebbed number as well, because we provided over 4,000 places across summer for school children. We had a food bank, we did random acts of kindness, we had drop-ins. So it was literally magic. Super, super proud of it. But you've also got to learn as a business when the time is to stop it. Because while I was off for a period, the bills were coming in, but the business wasn't, because I had to close all my groups. So there were lots of different reasons for me making that decision, but it was absolutely the right one. But then whilst at home sort of sorting things out and pondering about those, I was never worried about the future, because I always knew it'd still have it had to be part of my purpose, because I just wouldn't do it, you know. And I'd got in touch with Gordon about getting involved with Climb again this year. Never for 1 minute did I think I'd be involved at this level. And after a few conversations, and I told Gordon what my situation was, he was like, right, we'd love to have you as part of it. And then that's where the head of impact came, and I was just so happy, because it just felt so right. And I felt like I can use all my lived experience from social care, from the business world, from third sector, having actually lived those struggles, because there are struggles and it is hard, and actually bring that to such a prestigious business event that's basically opening the doors to social impact. That I feel like that's a real privilege and an honour for me to be in a position where I can ensure that people get heard, they get a voice, they get a platform, they literally get a stage. And we just get people in business and other organisations talking about it. But also, I think it's really exciting to think that we can challenge perceptions and languages. And the whole social impact point is, it's not all about writing big checks. I say this to everyone, we all love a big check in a third sector organisation, of course we do, but it's so much more than that. You know, you can help your people in your organisation in lots of different ways by even telling them about a charity or a CIC, or maybe helping them with some volunteers or some time or some services. And it's about matching values as well. So I'm excited to be able to talk about all that.
And for me, so my 30 years of my life has been helping our clients and ourselves hire awesome people who make a difference. And so I talk about this a lot on LinkedIn. Our team is incredible. We've talked about it on the podcast here. It was a no-brainer to me, because we never wanted this to be a bolt-on bit of Climb. I've seen people do some of the stuff that we do, but it's just here's our thing, and we just add this on because we should. This is baked into everything we do. So this is why we exist, right? So if we're going to do this right, I need someone in the team who really believes in this and who, cut me in half and, I'll bleed off Climb and CRSI and the things that we're about. Do that with Paula, and it's all about impact and how we can do this. But more importantly than that was this bridge. So having run a business, you can Paula can talk my language of business speak in relation to it. So in relation to an impact that we're having, or in a CIC or a charity, so that it bridges that gap. Because sometimes it can be daunting as a business owner is, how do I get involved? I haven't got millions of pounds. And I was at Anthropy the other month, and all these organisations were targeting and talking to big corporates. And they're going, big corporates don't have a budget. And I said, what's a typical corporate spend with you? And someone said, 500 grand. Right, okay. I said, well, I probably know 100 people right now who own small businesses who probably care. It's not a, let's do my whatever acronym tick box, who'd each put in 5 grand. And then they can write those checks tomorrow. And you as a third sector, or you as a foundation or whatever, are not targeting and not hooked into my community because you find it easier to find the big corporates, and you'll spend hundreds of pounds targeting them, where actually if we could engage with our community, we could do something where it positively impacts both sides. Businesses, if you're a founder of a business or an owner of a business and you want to grow and you want to bring amazing talent into your organization, you cannot be 100% focused on money. If you want, people talk about employment, engagement and retention of young people and Gen Z people, etc. Easiest way of doing it, have impact in your business.
Yeah.
Tick box 1, that's got financial impact positively to your company. Secondly, those people will be more engaged because they're having an impact. They'll work harder and be more productive. Tick 2, more money coming into your organisation. So by default, and I do get quite emotional about this, it effing works, right? So that was my thing. And then when Paula was like, I'm actually on the market, essentially, which I had no idea when we made the call, it was like, just sign this. just
let's do it.
Join. Let's just get on.
Didn't have to think about it.
So what can we look forward to at Climb? What have you got in store for us? I trust the pink microphone's coming back.
No, I've upgraded that actually.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I've upgraded.
And it should be orange anyway, by the way.
Well, I've got an orange one.
On brand.
Yeah, I've got an orange one. It's at home. I've actually had it delivered. So there's loads of surprises in store, because you've got to have surprises. But in terms of the lineup, so with me now organising like the full 2 days in the impact zone, so we've had our space upgraded, so we've got loads more space, we've got theatre style seats, and people can put the headphones and stuff, so that's really exciting. Even though we made the most of last year, we're brilliant. So we've had an upgrade in terms of area and space, so we can invite more people in. The speakers are just, I feel like I've invited all my mates, which is what I wanted to do. People, I'm like, you need to come to Climb. People that will never get on a stage. So we've got like a section which we're going to be talking about all this like this week and next week and going nuts about it. But the first section that we're doing is called Showcase, and we've got somebody really cool opening it up and doing something, which I'll talk about later, to do Showcase. And I'm like saying to all my mates, right, all these different charities and CIs, you come in and you're just going to show off about what you do, but we're going to tell everyone that you come in, tell everyone what you do, and get everyone to come and see you. And that to them is like winning the lottery. Like come and show, because it's all about these matching values, with these companies and stuff. So, and getting people's interest and going, I didn't know there was an organisation that did that or did that, because there'll be a lot of preconceived ideas, won't there? There's going to be all kinds of things happening within the impact zone as well, because we've like split it into 4 sections. We've got a really exciting organisation. Am I allowed to mention CSJ?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when Paula talks of her mates, they're like my mates, right? These are flipping awesome people. They're not like just some random someone she's met.
Look after the cat one
this
day.
Guest list is to die for, right? And from
It feels like I'm inviting my mates. Do you know what I mean? That's
but
what
you
I
know,
mean.
like, and you were just about to say, like, one of the organisations you're bringing along. Yeah, 100%. It's only a week away, so people will know anyway. But yeah go for it.
So the one of the things that I'm super excited about is CSJ, which is the Centre for Social Justice. So they're a national foundation, and they're well recognised, and they have a lot of coverage with like BBC and other media and stuff. And what they do is just magical. They write policies, which doesn't sound magical, but it is. They write policies, they write reports, they have laws changed, but the research teams that they have up and down the country, so they work with grassroots level CICs, charities, community groups, little one-man band setups, and they gather all this amazing evidence from the people that are doing the do every day, that are a national charity, and we're not rubbishing national charities because they're amazing, but we're saying there's a whole other layer that people don't know about. So this organisation works with all them people, and then they'll create these fantastic reports and take them to government and get laws changed. It's just really amazing. So when I was in hospital, I actually read one of their reports, overlooked and underfunded, and I actually cried. And because I was so happy, I was sat there thinking, I need to do a report to tell everyone what's going on in the world. Like I've got time to do that. And then my cousin said to me, have you seen this? And she sent me it, and I read it and I cried because I was so happy. Because I was like, wow, this is what we need in the country. I got straight in touch with them. I'm like, I don't even know how and why, but I just need to talk to you. And this is before we'd spoken. And I was just like, thank you for doing what you've done. So then when I got the gig at Climb, who did I phone straight away? CSJ. And they are so grateful. They keep saying to me, thank you so much for the opportunity to tell God, and thank you so much. And I know they won't mind me saying that. And I'm like, thank you for saying yes. But that's why it's so magic. Because, the gratefulness is equal from both sides, but that's because of the magic that could happen, because we're bringing them to Climb, and they're going to talk about, all the things that they know. So there's some really massive, impactful things going on.
And that's, again, the power of what we're doing is we create the stage and the platform for this mutual win. Everybody, whether it be the impact organisation getting access to an audience, or the audience getting to learn about things, whether it be a business looking for funding, every part of what we're creating is there's a win for everybody comes on board, and that makes the big difference as to where
there's multiple options and opportunities, isn't there?
And there's things like EY Foundation have sponsored the Impact Zone because they're trying to get 2.5 million people.
They're brilliant as well.
Free school dinners into work. And founders like us don't know how to do that. So with the Impact Zone, what Paula's doing, we as founders can learn how we can engage with different communities.
Yeah, and work with them.
Absolutely. So it's
massively.
It's a huge opportunity for everybody.
Climb, the event, the 2 days in these is going to be fantastic. We know that. And I'm sure this Impact Zone will be incredible. How do you make sure, though, that this is not just a 2-day event? You plowed so much energy into it. That's absolutely incredible. But this keeps going. You have a full-time job now.
Well, it's about, getting that feedback from people. It's about making those connections on the days and following through on those as well, and making the lasting connections for people. And also like measuring what did we get from Climb, what did we get, what did everyone else get from Climb, and just keep learning, like Gordon's kept talking about from 23 and 24. You've just got to keep listening to everybody and learning from all those experiences. And that's exactly what we'll do with the Impact Zone.
And, Climb is a movement. We talk about this a lot and everywhere we go. This isn't the event is a showcase event for a year's worth of work. So we have sessions that are going on through the year. There's the work we're doing with this podcast. There is being in those communities. Climb is great. It's a convener and brings people together, but it can be pretty daunting. We bring 120 young people from disadvantaged groups into the event, but we give them a safe space. But the next thing beyond Climb is we've got to take Climb to them, right? Because we can only bring 120 because of logistics and a whole bunch of other things. And there'll be also people who would find coming into Leeds Dock, into the big museum with, anyone from a founder of a business to a billionaire, a pretty rough place to be. I find it intimidating. And if we're going to do this, it's about trust, right? We've got to build trust with those communities. I would look at us skeptically and go, is this a marketing stunt? Is this just are they exploiting me to do this, to do whatever? So, and I get that, and it isn't. But we've got to build that, and that's got to be between ClimbUK events.
Building the relationships, isn't it? It's got to be a proper relationship with the organisations and the individuals that are coming. It's not just a transaction. It's not just about Climb, the 2-day event, like you say. It's the long-term
And we do talk a lot, but we're also bloody good at listening. I think that's the other thing is that we actually do. We really care about this stuff, and not just us two sat here at the front of this. The people who are behind these cameras, the people who are in the back rooms making sure that this works really well. The last thing that we would want is somebody, some of these young people coming to Climb and not having an amazing experience. Like 3 out of 12 last year got jobs from people that they met in Climb. The organisation who brought them has got funded. That doesn't happen easily. That's why you need like people as mad as us, but as passionate as Paula, and as again, we can come across very jovial and fun, and it's all that and great, and it is. I mean, like, I think hitting it on the head as a celebration. People don't want to come to an event and be shown all the bad stuff. We know that exists. We want to show what can I do positively. That is bloody hard work. Someone once asked us on a call with Pilar, who's been on this podcast with me, and said, "What do you do for the rest of the year?" I was like, "Oh yeah, because we just wake up we wake up in the middle of May and then just go, we'll just put this together in 3 weeks' time, and away you go." So there's this huge amount of working with. That's why we have the guest list. That's why we have the ability to do what we do. This isn't a job. I don't think you ever call this your job. This is your thing, right? This is my thing. This is Pilar's thing. This is Sarah's thing. People come here and work with us because it's a thing. It's not a job.
One of the things with the social impact is you've talked before of you've had founders meet investors. They've gone on to make that business a success. It's a very tangible thing. It's not as tangible sometimes, is it, with social impact? That it's a more nuanced thing of how do you judge success?
In exactly the same way. Honestly, it's the same way. So they might hire people. Yes, they might get investment. They might send volunteers to help. They might send someone to help with services. You can measure it in the same way. I think because of the impact side, people see that differently, and that's a big part of my role is to, like when I was saying about challenging perceptions, so we can still measure it the same as you do the other things. But then it's also, you get the extra bit, so you can measure the impact in terms of, well, because of that, how many people did that then impact in the community, or, if you're providing a certain service, that kind of thing.
But can you impact a bit of what Gordon was talking about of just how that makes your workforce feel that they're involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a much more nuanced thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you can absolutely. Attrition rates, productivity, retention, all of those things in an organisation, we know statistically that those organisations who are involved beyond their actual core activity, then they're not just focusing on, I make cameras and sell cameras. Those organisations that genuinely care, they retain their staff for much longer. So there's those measures. And then there is, some of it is as simple as awareness. We work with a group called Boycott Your Beds, and it's a sleep out. I think it's all around the UK. We're working with the team from Leeds, and there's people who've come to Climb who now have joined that organisation. They sleep out in Leeds, and they're raising money for that charity. So just by raising the awareness, and then the other element is, and this is the really cool bit, and I'm just thinking this as we're talking, but there's somebody who runs a social, maybe a charity or a social impact business, who thinks the only way to fund that is by grants or by donations. They meet someone like an entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And suddenly that thing's now a sustainable business, and it stops going out needing handouts and I spent some time mentoring somebody with an impact business, and it's now a sustainable revenue model. And then they get to meet investors. So there's a group called Key Capital in Sheffield. They can fund social impact businesses, and that's not tech like some of the world that we work in. Someone can decide they want to set up a community pub. They can go to this organisation, they'll get a bit of a grant to kickstart them and going. Then they will get a loan. That loan is on very soft terms, but it's commercial, they have to pay it. And that thing has to prove that it can be sustainable. But now you've got somebody who would never have known that was a thing. They'd have thought, I've got to borrow some money from the bank or my mates or whatever. And you can see more community businesses, not projects, but actual businesses being created. So this whole thing that people thought was weird and couldn't understand in 2023 of bringing somebody from a drinks company to meet a tech company to meet a social media business to meet a whatever, and banging them in a really eclectic mix of room, but talking about a common goal of growth, because that's what sits in the middle, the magic just happens. And I hear that word all the time. People keep coming and saying, and Paula's used it a couple of times here. I was at a launch event in Manchester a few weeks ago of magic, it's magical. There's this thing, it's just a thing. And that's because the people involved in putting it together care, and then the people who come, it's infectious. You can't avoid it. It is just there.
And it's fair to say, I think Paula's quite an infectious character. Her enthusiasm is going to bubble through. So if people are listening to this wondering about going to Climb and thinking, I'm not a founder, I'm not an investor, why go for the social impact bit?
I just think it's about the people. So rather than even thinking about the social impact, you'll just meet people that you may never have met before. You'll get inspired in one way or another. Some part of your life will be inspired by visiting social impact, absolutely. And Climb is all about, for me, I know it's about lots of things, but it's about valuing every conversation. So I met people last year doing the randomest things, and I'm still in touch with them, and we've become great friends, and we've done things together. And it's that not knowing what's going to happen, but having that excitement. I think for the social impact, it's very much about just come and see what's happening in your local community. I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised, and there might be just a really fun way that you can get involved, in a way that you didn't think you could.
And was there something, one thing in particular from last year that really stuck in your mind and has stayed with you that you just thought, this is fabulous, this is why I want to be involved?
I have to pick one.
Yes.
I can't pick one. That's a challenge. If I have to pick one, it would be the opportunities given to the people that came into the social impact zone in terms of the organisations, because I completely understood how much that meant to them and how grateful they were for the opportunity. So if I had to pick one, it'd be that one.
For me, it's people who had no idea, including me, about how they could really impact, the execution bits. You've got all the intention, but to meet people who can share ideas with you of thinking this is what you can do. So, at 50 odd years old, running my own business for goodness knows how many years or whatever, to be in an environment where I'm like a kid again. I mean, I'm like a kid anyway, but I'm learning so much. Yeah. I mean, so that's why the personal development aspect alone of just stuff that I can take from another sector into my management style, my leadership style, my own organisation, the personal development, and when we sold the last business and created this one, it was like, well, what have I actually achieved? And I actually feel like so in my last business, we didn't, thankfully, but had we gone bust, the only people who would have been affected really would have been the team. If Climb collapses, if it didn't happen, it affects a lot of people. And that's a good, I like that responsibility that actually, as a business owner, I'm doing things that affects beyond me. And I can have that when we do retire or whatever, I can go, I've done this. And everybody who goes to Climb could go on that journey of going, I'm actually doing something. And you can see I feel it already. Again, the thought
you're creating a legacy. That's what you're doing.
But everybody who got, not me, every delegate can meet somebody. Every delegate can meet somebody, which means that they're on a journey for themselves. So they could meet, founder of company X can meet an impact business or a social impact business, and then them feel that they're doing something within their company. So
it's a massive part of people's journey. And Climb is a massive part of people's journey, same as it is mine. And I think that's they're always going to remember going to Climb.
But and that's cool, and I like that. But more importantly, they can start their journey.
Yeah.
They can start there. Then sort of go, I remember working with company X because they're an impactful business. Whereas right now they might go, I work at company X because it's just a cool place to work. So all the founders can be we're 3 years old in 3. If even half of the founders leave, in 3 years' time going, my business is more impactful than it was 3 years ago. That's massive, right?
Yeah.
That's 2,000 people out of 4,000 going, I'm now having an impact.
Exactly.
That's what you'll get out of being in the impact zone, that sense of achievement, that 100%.
And a bit like Gordon, you already got your eye on 2026 and make it even bigger and better?
Yeah, we've already talked about it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm 27. It's we are not going anywhere. We are here for the duration. This isn't a publicity stunt. This isn't a gag. Yeah. This is important.
Yeah.
Paula, Gordon, thank you very much. You heard it here. Social impact is very, very much at the heart of everything we are doing with ClimbUK. Join us again for more conversations at the summit.